The remnants of Cyclone Jasper, a moderate chance to reform, and Queensland in for a very stormy week just before Christmas time. So, Christmas could be a stormy one around Australia. We're looking at the possibility for the remnants of Cyclone Jasper to reform in the Gulf of Carpentaria or in parts of the Coral Sea over the next week. All of that plus more in today's Christmas season forecast update, brought to you by Force 13 Australia. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. It really does help out. And leave a like on the video while you're at it. But without any further ado, let's jump straight into the Australian-wide picture. You can see hot weather extending today and into tomorrow across Western Australia. In fact, very hot conditions up around Port Hedland and Karratha, and this hot weather will extend into the northern wheatbelt regions of Western Australia and down to about Kalgoorlie. And it'll also be in the Northern Territory, the central regions of the Northern Territory, and maybe into Queensland as well. Rainy conditions up in Kakadu and also in the Cape York Peninsula, and those storms that we've been seeing over the last couple of days, they'll be contracting towards the Queensland coastline around southeast Queensland and far northern New South Wales, and some of those could be severe tonight and into tomorrow. But apart from that, looking fairly nice for this 21st of December. So looking at the remnants of Jasper as well, they've been tagged as Invest 94P. Winds of 45 kilometers an hour, pressure of 1,000 millibars. It is moving in sort of a northerly fashion at this point. It's trying to spin itself up really desperately. I know we said that this was not going to reform, but it's got a bit of model support behind it now, and the Bureau of Meteorology now gives it a moderate chance to reform into a tropical cyclone in the next 7 days. We're going to have to watch this situation very closely, and if it does reform, you bet there'll be more coverage on the F13AU channel. So now looking at the eastern WF winds for the tropics, you can see that broad low pressure system tries to wrap itself up Monday or around Monday-ish, which is Christmas Day. You can see as it gets into the Coral Sea Monday, it does intensify to a brief tropical cyclone as it moves in towards sort of the south. Then it sort of rounds itself off, and it's looking like it's making a beeline for Townsville at this time. Now this is a very unlikely and uncommon track for this storm to make this time of the year, so it's not looking like a very plausible scenario. I'd give this scenario maybe a 10% chance of occurring. We're going to have to watch this situation very closely. I feel that this cyclone is not going to reform, but we will be watching it very closely, that's for sure. Now take a look at the rainfall picture. Now we're looking nationwide to start off with. You can see just how much rainfall is expected across the next couple of days around Queensland. In fact, another 100 millimeters could be expected. We're going to slow this right down for Christmas Day, which is right now. You can see, looking at the rainfall, it's going to develop in sort of the western parts of Queensland and central western parts of Queensland, and then move across to the eastern parts of Queensland and New South Wales as well. And they could, these storms could be severe, and they could definitely give Brisbane quite a substantial amount of severe storm activity on Christmas Day and into Boxing Day. We're also looking at the possibility for more pulse and severe thunderstorms to fire up on Queensland for the next 10 days, as you can see as we play this run through. We might also be seeing some rain in South Australia and the deserts of Northern Territory as well, and that rain could extend into Western Australia, which could prompt a little bit of flooding if the rain is heavy enough. So we'll be watching this one very closely. But yeah, playing that run through once again, you can see a lot of rainfall expected across central New South Wales and central Queensland over the next sort of 5 days. And as we get to Christmas Day, we'll probably see the peak of these severe thunderstorms. And as I'll get to later on in this video, just how severe these thunderstorms could be in certain locations around Christmas time. So it's actually looking like not a very pleasant Christmas forecast for locations between Sydney and Bundaberg, including Brisbane and adjacent communities. Playing that run through just one last time, you can see there's no model support for that tropical cyclone, which means if you were to take this picture, it is unlikely that a tropical cyclone is going to form or intensify in the Northern Territory or Queensland regions about this time. Now, just finishing it off, we're going to look at the temperature forecast run. You can see very hot conditions expected to develop across Western Australia, and they'll extend inland into the goldfields and over towards South Australia and the Northern Territory. Now this is very hot weather, but it is very normal weather for this time of the year. Hottest part of the year as we get into the northern summertime. You can see just some of the daytime maxima that places are expecting. Karratha could get up to 47 degrees Celsius, Marble Bar on Christmas Day up to 49 degrees Celsius. And those heatwave conditions do extend into South Australia, with Coober Pedy expecting a 45-degree day. And it looks like the closer we get to New Year's, just the hotter and the more widespread these extreme temperatures become. So we're going to have to watch this one very closely indeed. But that's the latest on the forecast part. Let's jump over to the models on windy.com. Alright, so we're taking a look at Invest 94P, all the remnants of Tropical Cyclone Jasper in the Gulf of Carpentaria at this time. You can see a lot of thunderstorm activity firing around where the storm's centre of circulation is, which is right here. It's a very broad centre, but it's still got some kind of low pressure system going on. And just look at the thunderstorms, look at these storms that are firing. So much lightning, it is very hard to believe actually. And if we play this run backwards a little bit to sunrise, just look at the sun rising over these storms. That is very, very beautiful indeed. It's a gorgeous looking system, that's for sure. So if you are a satellite photographer, I'd highly recommend going up to the Gulf of Carpentaria on some satellite apps because it looks beautiful, these storm activity. Yeah, just a very, very powerful bunch of thunderstorms, but it's not right now that we're interested in. We're interested in the forecast for this system. So we're going to take a look at the ICON model first, because the ICON model is the only model that really supports tropical cyclone genesis at this time. Now you can see the gale force winds, or what will become the gale force winds, are to the north of the centre of circulation, which is located here in the centre of the Gulf of Carpentaria. And you can see over Thursday and into Friday the 22nd, they really don't do much. They hardly wrap themselves up, in fact. And as you get into Saturday, once again, really struggling to wrap itself up. But it looks like the low pressure system will finally tighten itself up with the help of the land interaction in the far northern reaches of the Cape York Peninsula. Winds still only around 20 knots from what looks to be about the northwest. And it looks like on about Saturday the 23rd, they finally do start to wrap themselves up into what looks to be an organised low pressure system. And as you get into Christmas Eve, we'll definitely start to see the beginnings of a tropical cyclone form. Maybe it will get... It'll reform Sunday night into Monday morning, Christmas morning, and again, probably not going to be a strong system. In fact, it really does stay weak for the majority of its life, and towards the end of Monday, it is heading down to about Cardwell, Townsville or Bowen as a tropical cyclone, but it is on a weakening trend, and it will definitely die before it reaches there. I think wind shear is going to be very hostile for this system. Yeah, it will rip this storm apart the further south that it gets, so conditions are looking horrible for this system in the Coral Sea, which is why it is not likely to become a strong cyclone at all. Now, wind shear rips the convection away from the storm center, and convection or thunderstorms is required for the cyclone to intensify, which means if there is high wind shear, you're going to get a cyclone looking absolutely skin and bones, which is what Jasper looked like as it was approaching the Queensland coastline. So it could look very beautiful, but it is likely to remain very weak, that's for sure. Now, just checking rainfall, because I know rainfall is what a lot of people are going to be interested in. We've heard some horror stories up around Cairns, by the way, with the roads washed out, new rivers. Keep sending in what you're seeing in the comment section, because we are trying to see everything. We really want to get a grasp of what is going on up there, because it is some crazy stuff. But what is some good news is we're not expecting much rainfall around the already flooded areas. The only rainfall is going to be kept in the areas that receive sort of the evening pulse thunderstorms, Mount Isa, down to Hugh Heddon, even down towards Charters Towers, Rockhampton, Bundaberg, that sort of area. That's where the thunderstorm activity is going to be concentrated. It's not going to be around Cairns, and I think for the next 5 days, Cairns is actually not expecting any rainfall whatsoever. Yeah, 2 millimeters, so that's hardly anything at all. But around where this cyclone makes its passage, especially Thursday Island, we could be seeing a substantial amount of rainfall. 200 millimeters is possible, but that is a lot less than what we were expecting a couple of days ago, where we were seeing totals up to about 1,000 millimeters from this tropical cyclone. So that's some really good news indeed. It really isn't looking like it's going to be much of a threat, that's for sure. But we will take a look at cumulative rainfall totals over the next 10 days for parts of Queensland and New South Wales. We could be seeing some pretty substantial amounts of rainfall, especially around Moree. We could be seeing 250 millimeters of rain up there. And then into southeast Queensland, there are places that could be seeing up to 300 millimeters from this thunderstorm event that we're expecting. Brisbane itself, maybe 100 millimeters. Gold Coast, 150 millimeters. And there will be places that pick up maybe up to 300 millimeters. And because it is thunderstorm activity, this rainfall is expected to be very intense, very fast falling, and we could also be seeing the risk of large hailstones and damaging and locally destructive winds from these storms, because they will organise into supercell structures, some of them. So yeah, we'll be keeping a very close eye on that on the Australian channel. So yeah, just looking at these rainfall totals here, 3-hour totals of about 50 millimeters. They are some pretty intense storms that the models are forecasting. And once again, pulse thunderstorms, so there'll be evening thunderstorm activity. And as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll be seeing these storms hopefully start to ease off before they refire again Monday afternoon, Christmas afternoon, and into Boxing Day as well. Now, we could do a little weather forecast for the Boxing Day test. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of rain around Melbourne for day one of the Boxing Day test, but that rain should ease off Wednesday, maybe get impacted by a couple of late thunderstorms and whatnot. And yeah, it looks like the rain fully eases off Thursday and into Friday, and the 28th and the 29th. So you're looking probably maybe a bit of rain day 1 and day 2, but the Aussies should clean them up on day 3 and day 4, and if needed, day 5 looking fairly clear as well. So forecast for the cricket looking pretty good, which is some great news indeed. Nationwide for Christmas, before we get into the graphical Christmas weather forecast at the end of the video, of course, we could be expecting hot conditions across Western Australia and into the Northern Territory as well. South Australia remaining mild. New South Wales as well, temperatures pretty warm in the central region, but across the coastline, mild as well. Canberra a top of 21, Sydney a top of 23. It's going to be hot down in Melbourne, 30 degrees Celsius. In fact, it could get a little bit hotter than that as well, with these nor'easters driving a lot of hot air into the Melbourne metro area. Down in Tasmania, a nice warm day of 22 degrees for Hobart, in fact 20 degrees Celsius across much of the state, which is great news for Tasmania. Queensland going to be hot in the central regions, but those storms should keep things cool across the western parts, the eastern parts of the state. Brisbane expecting a top of 30, and the Northern Territory hot as always this time of the year. And across to New Zealand, we could be seeing some hot weather as well, north of Christchurch, south of Wellington, and up on the eastern parts of the North Island. We could be seeing temperatures above 25 degrees for Christmas Day, but it should be remaining cool in the extreme south. So yeah, that basically does it for the Christmas part of the forecast. We're going to jump over and take a look at the graphical Christmas weather outlook and see what is going to be happening in a graphical look in your part of the country. So not a whole lot has changed since yesterday's forecast, but we have been able to sharpen a couple of things up because of the clarity of the forecast. So this is from the ECMWF model, probably the most reliable one right now from what I'm seeing, but it is a generally similar picture across all of the forecast models. So I can say with high certainty that this is a very plausible scenario for Christmas Day, but we are looking at hot and very hot conditions across Western Australia. They could extend into Perth, but it looks like a low pressure trough will keep locations such as Geraldton and inland parts of the wheat belt fairly cool or comparatively cool. These hot conditions will extend into the Northern Territory. Tennant Creek will be seeing a top of 43 degrees Celsius, and because of a trough line, they'll also extend into Queensland, central Queensland as well. Birdsville expecting a hot day, same with Mount Isa. But what will be keeping things a little bit cooler are those storms, which some of them could be severe, especially around Brisbane, Grafton, the Gold Coast, and up towards Rockhampton. We could be seeing severe storms there, and those storm activity will extend into New South Wales and parts of the Capital Territory as well, and even into extreme northern parts of Victoria. We could be seeing stormy conditions. Now, because of a low pressure system, we'll be seeing showers in northern parts of Tasmania and also around parts of South Australia and Victoria, around Adelaide as well, and we could be seeing showers for the North Island of New Zealand and also for the northern parts of the South Island. And that basically does it for the Christmas forecast. Thank you so much for watching this update. If you did enjoy it, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe if you've really enjoyed it, and let us know how we can improve in the comment section down below, or give us some thoughts on the video or an update on the flooding situation in far north Queensland in the comment section. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. That's all from me, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, or you could become an Ultimate Fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.